to start breakout rooms, once you're in a meeting, and this can only be done once you're in a meeting, Microsoft hasn't yet rolled out the functionality to set them up before a meeting has actually started. So you can only do this as the organizer of the meeting, which obviously creates a little bit of an administrative issue for administrators who are setting up meetings on behalf of others. But for the time being, you must be in the meeting as the organizer to be able to do this. So the breakout room option is in the meeting toolbar at the top of the screen. There is also another icon which it may appear as, but we'll include this in the written guide to show the variation. So if I click on breakout rooms, can you all see the pop-up appeared on screen? Yeah. Here I have the option to select how many rooms I need. You can create up to 50 rooms. So for the purpose of this session, I'll create 3. And you also have the option at this stage to either automatically assign participants to rooms or to manually do this. So to show you what this looks like, I'll first automatically assign, and then we'll go back and start from the manual reassign. So as you can see here, this toolbar has appeared on the right-hand side of my screen, and you're currently all assigned to these meeting rooms. They're currently closed, but here you have a number of different options. I'll run through the options in more detail from the manual reassign, but first I'm going to go back to the previous page. So basically, if you automatically assigned participants and then you decide actually you would rather manually assign them, you can click on the ellipses and then click to recreate rooms, which will delete all of your existing rooms and take you back to the original menu. So I've decided instead I'm going to manually recreate these 3 rooms. So now you can see the breakout room menu has appeared again, but now my 3 rooms are all empty. And here now I have the option to assign participants manually to each room. So if I click here, I can select, for example, Elizabeth and Jonathan, and I'm going to assign you to room 1. Denise, Chris, and Markman, I will. Actually, Markman, you're going to be by yourself in room 3. Okay, so now you are all assigned. So by hovering over the ellipses next to each room and clicking on them, a number of different options appear. So once I've opened the rooms, I, as the organizer, can choose to join a room. I can open an individual room, and I can also rename the room. I'll explain a little bit later why this might be beneficial, but essentially the chat files are saved for each participant, and these appear in their normal chat menu in Teams. So if they have multiple different breakout rooms they've joined in different sessions, they might end up with 40 room 1s, which might cause an issue later if they'd like to continue to collaborate on documents. I'm going to call this Elizabeth's team. So I might decide actually to delete a room. So Markman, I would like you to collaborate with others. So I'm going to delete your room, and then I'll reassign you to a new room. I'll put you in room 2. So there is an additional option here for rooms settings. So at present, it's set to automatically move people into open rooms, which means that when I open the rooms, you'll all be taken into your new meeting within the room. If I untick this an option will appear on your screen when I click to open the rooms, asking if you would like to move to the room, and you can either join or cancel the room. So I'm going to retick that box, because I guess with students, it will make it a little bit easier if they are just automatically put into their rooms to get started collaborating with each other. So before I actually put you into rooms, and open them, I'm just going to run through some of the other the options, just so that you're aware of them before you get taken off into the individual rooms, because once you're in those rooms, you won't be able to hear me in the main meeting, and I'll just leave you there for a few moments while I record for the sake of the video, and then I'll get you back into the room. So I showed you how to delete a room before. If you do actually want to add an additional room, you can do so once you've created them, and then you can move participants into these rooms. So by clicking on the drop down next to the room, I can now actually choose to assign Denise. I can either unassign and move you back into the participant list, or I can move you into room 3. So once the rooms are open, you then have the option to make an announcement to all groups, and then you as the organizer can then move between individual groups. Much like I'm recording this meeting, you can record within individual meetings or within individual breakout rooms as the organizer, but you have to go into the room and turn on the recording. So this recording will only be available to participants within that breakout room. So I am going to start the room. So you'll all automatically be taken into your rooms, and I'll then bring you back into the main room in a few moments. As you can see, all of my participants have now been put into their breakout rooms, and I can now make an announcement by clicking on the ellipses at the top of the breakout rooms option. This will appear in the meeting chat within the breakout room. So I can now choose to join a room. So I'm going to click now to close the rooms to bring everybody back into the main meeting.
So if someone's in a room, they can't themselves go out. Is it the organizer who's controlling it?
Yes, exactly. They're stuck in that room and they can't get back to the main meeting. So although they do have presenter rights when they're put into a breakout room, they can't, for security's sake, they can't add other people, they can't share a joining link, and they can't get back into the main meeting until you click to close the rooms and bring them back into the main room.
So Chloe, if I'm running a tutorial and I've put them all into breakout groups so that they can work on a question together, can they not come back into the general group and ask me a question?
They can't, no. They can send you a message through the chat function.
Okay.
But you would need to go into each individual room and take questions.
Thank you.
I guess it's a bit like walking around groups in a classroom.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You can actually reopen the rooms once they've closed. Unfortunately, my screen is still closing the rooms currently, so I can't show that button. But you can reopen them as long as the session is, as long as you're in the same meeting session. And after the session is done, the files that they've been using to collaborate within the breakout room and the chat will still be available to them within their chat menu on Teams. So I can actually show you that from an earlier session if you would like. I'm just going to stop sharing this screen. Oh, actually, no, it's all disappeared now. So I can show you that, yeah, basically you can start the rooms again and put everybody back in, and they can continue to collaborate in the same way. So I'm just going to share actually a different screen. So this is from an earlier breakout room that I did. So for every attendee, this will appear, or the equivalent will appear in their chat files. So they'll be able to see the chat files, any meeting notes, and also if, the whiteboard if it was used to collaborate. So everybody in the breakout room will be having a presenter right, so they can collaborate equally on the whiteboard. And as you can see here, this is what the announcements appear as, and they are saved in the chat. And if you do choose to record the breakout room by joining it and then clicking it in the same way as you would a normal meeting on the menu at the top of the screen, you can record the breakout room for all of the attendees who are there, and it will appear in the chat for them to look at a later date, or they can download it for the next 20 days, like they would a standard meeting. And as you can see here, documents are also saved here if they've uploaded any during their session, so they can continue to chat here with each other after the session has happened.
Can they see each other's rooms? Will they ever be able to look into each other's rooms?
No, unless you reassign them to a new room, they won't be able to see into other rooms.
But we can see into, an organizer can see into the rooms, each of the rooms.
Yes, exactly. So I saw that, Denise, you sent me a message then. I never joined your room, but I got the message that you sent in the chat, saved in my chat files.
Can we ask questions now, Chloe, or is that going to derail your?
No, that's absolutely.
Recording? I wasn't sure.
Still recording, aren't I? Yes, I'm still recording. That's fine.
Okay. Oh no, I just didn't. Well, so I wasn't sure that. I thought Denise was supposed to be in the room with Markman and I, and she never came in. So was that correct, or was that it not working?
Oh, that was correct. I reassigned Denise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to ask did it break question if you if it was gonna undermine the 20 minutes of recording you'd already done.
No, we can always edit bits out. It's fine.
So Chloe, can I ask a question? So at the moment when I use channels, I stay in the general meeting place, or I don't even know if it's a meeting. It is a meeting. So I stay in the general area, and all my students are in their various different channels, and I can go into each of the channels, but I'm also in the general meeting. So, well, no, the general meeting is on hold, isn't it, while I'm in somebody else's channel, but then I always come back into the general meeting so that the students can come and say something to me or come and ask me a question. Doing it this way means I'm not in any meeting at all unless I'm in one of the breakout rooms. So I would really have to go into the breakout room, then come out again, then go into a different breakout room, come out again, and I'd be completely in no group when I'm not in one of those breakout rooms.
Yes, exactly. You'd still be in the main meeting with your dashboard, so you would be able to go into each individual room, and if people do write messages in the chat for their room, you would be able to see that.
Well, I thought my main meeting room doesn't stay open, does it?
It stays open just for you, and as soon as you close your breakout rooms, everybody would return to that meeting, but you would stay within that one. So when you join a room, a meeting window will appear, and then you'll be able to then click on your other main meeting window to go back to the original meeting.
Okay. So that one stays open as it would at the moment when I've split them up into channels.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
So does anybody else have any questions? We're also putting together a written guide, a further video, which is more of a walkthrough, I guess without the chatter and the pauses and things in between.
One question, just to confirm. So you can't, if someone sets up a Teams meeting for me, they can't assign me the role of organizer so that I can run the...
Not yet, no. You'd have to set up the meeting yourself.
Yeah, I thought you could assign other people as organizer in a Teams meeting in meeting settings. Am I not right about that? I could be wrong about that. Let me.
While Chris is looking that up, Chloe, can you time a meeting? Can you say, right, you can all have 20 minutes on this, and then at the end of that 20 minutes, you'll all be brought back into the main meeting?
It doesn't look like at the moment you can set a timer. I think that's coming with Microsoft, but
Right.
you would have to manually time that and then bring people back.
We noticed
Okay.
that there was a nice feature when the meeting, the breakout rooms were about to end, which you don't get in Collaborate, which is that it said, you have, the meeting, this is going to end in 30 seconds. That's for people who are used to how they work in Collaborate, that's quite good, because in Collaborate it just kind of dumps you out of the room with no warning in the middle of a sentence normally.
But doesn't that imply that you can time it, Chris?
No, I think it's just well, I don't know. How did you do it, Chloe?
I just pressed to close the rooms, and then there was a pause until you all rejoined. I think it has a little bit of a grace period when you press to close the rooms.
Oh, okay. No, I'm thinking of the fact you can set specific presenters for a meeting, which is different to setting the organizer, isn't it? So, Chloe, just to reiterate for me, just so that I'm sure I've got this right. So, in order for you to be able to use breakout rooms, you have to have set up the meeting as a scheduled meeting and specifically invited everyone who you want to be able to. And do you know? I thought I didn't have any questions, but I do. Do you know what happens in two circumstances? One where someone joins the meeting via a link. Do you know whether they can be added to breakout rooms?
Everybody who's joined
in the meeting.
I'm not sure. I believe that anybody who's joined the meeting can be added to a breakout room. It's just that they would only come into the main meeting. They wouldn't be able to get into breakout rooms once they've been set up unless you allocated them.
Yeah. And what about external people? Because I know that there are sometimes some weird, basically, well, we have it sometimes when people have set up their QM email to forward to another account, and then they join from that other account. So they're joining as an external, even though they're an internal person, and that happens just about every school level meeting I'm in. Someone's done that.
You would still be able to allocate.
Still be able to. Okay,
yeah.
That's good.
So good. Just going back to Chris's previous point. So that means that because of the way the timetable is set up, we don't have scheduled meetings, do we? We just have groups of people, and I write to them and I say, at Thursday 12 noon, group O, I'll see you all in 5 minutes, and then they all have to click on meet now. So that's not a scheduled meeting, is it? So I wouldn't be able to break that out into breakout rooms.
No, it appears not at the moment. I'm going to check with IT services to see how this is working, or what they've heard about the roadmap for how this is working with the timetable. Right. Because at the moment you would have to, I guess, all of your students and then add them to individual meetings that you create in your calendar.
Yeah, but that's going to be quite tricky, because that means, so if I have groups of 27, 28 students, that means I'd have to set up a meeting, invite those 28 students, and then put them into breakout groups, which hardly seems worth it at the moment. It would be quicker for me just to set up my 4 channels that I've got A, B, C, D, and say, okay, you all know which groups you're in, off you go into your groups. So it's not actually going to be terribly useful for me as far as teaching is concerned, I don't think. It'll be useful for people who are organising university or faculty meetings, but I don't think it's going to be, until we can sort out this timetabling issue, if it is an issue, it's not going to be very automatic to break people into breakout, to put people into breakout groups.
No, exactly. At the moment, it's not really the optimal solution, but
Does it?
Sorry.
I was just wondering, one thing that does it work with recurring meetings? So like, obviously there'd be no, it might be, I might feel like it's worth it at the beginning of the semester to, to schedule 12 lots of meetings that run once every week. Whereas like, obviously I wouldn't feel like it was worth it now to schedule like 4 different meetings for.
It does work with recurring meetings, as long as you've invited individuals, but they wouldn't go into the same breakout rooms. You'd have to set them up again each time.
Yeah.
And Chloe, if you've invited 30 people to your meeting, but only 20 people have actually turned up, and you just want to allocate it automatically, would it assume that all 30 people are there, or would it only allocate the 20 people to the breakout rooms?
It would only allocate the 20, as far as I can see.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. So does anybody have any other questions? Otherwise, feel free to ping me an email. And as I said, we'll be putting together a written guide and also, I guess, a more polished video to share via IT services.
Are you suggesting that this hasn't been polished? I rehearsed.
Thank you very much, Chloe.
Thanks,
I can certainly see a use for it. I'm just not sure that I can see a use for it in my large tutorial groups, but maybe it just needs a bit of refinement. I'm not quite sure, but very interesting to hear about. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
And
Nice to see everyone.
Yeah, it's great to see your work.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks
Chloe.
everyone.
Thanks.
See you soon.
Chloe.
Bye.
Bye bye.